history class. Today we're going to talk about the imperialization of Panama.
In the late 19th century, ships had to sail all the way around South America if they wanted to get from one side of the ocean to the next. And that was a big pain in the butt, as you can probably tell, because South America is freaking huge. And it costs too much money and too much time. So a bunch of different countries decided they wanted to build a canal right through Panama. But you see, there was a problem, and that problem was a treaty between the United States and Great Britain. And you know what? This is actually a primary document, so let's go with the shock pen, okay? Caleb, what's this primary source have to say?
Well, this primary source, called the Panama Canal Treaty, you could say the name of it.
The Clayton-Bulwer Treaty.
Clayton-Bulwer Treaty?
Oh, yes.
Anyways, it's basically saying that the U.S. can't build a canal in Panama, by itself. Here's a quote that says, "The government of the United States and Britain hereby declare that neither one nor the other will ever obtain or maintain for itself any exclusive control over the said ship canal." Alright, so because of this treaty, the U.S. couldn't start building. Because the U.S. couldn't do it, the French jumped on board. And, their leading engineer, Ferdinand
De Lesseps,
he thought that they could make the canal just a sea level canal. But that didn't really work out, and they had another engineer who was like, yeah, we should probably include locks, that would raise and lower the sea levels in order to get the ships through smoothly. But eventually they ran out of money, and here's how the lock system worked. Basically, the elevation was kind of like that, and that's like super rough. But so a boat would come in trying to go that way, and their original plan was to flatten this all out so it would be a sea level canal. Since that didn't work, they decided to include locks. And what these did was, when a ship would come through, this sea level would lower, so it could float into here, and then it would raise, so it could float into here. And then it would raise again, so they could float into here, and then it would lower. So they go here, and lower again, so they could go here, and lower again, so they could go here, and again, till they could leave. And that's how it worked.
Nice.
But there was a few things that slowed their progress, including but not limited to yellow fever and malaria. They didn't really know the causes of these things, and the French just kept dropping like flies, which is not awesome.
Not like mosquitoes, but like flies.
right, because we'll talk about this later.
So, since the French kind of had to stop building because they were all dying and they didn't have the means to, we ended up breaking our treaty with Britain. Lord Paunceforte, the British ambassador, and our own John Hay, the Secretary of State, agreed to break it. Somehow we convinced Britain to let us do that so we could have control of the Panama Canal. And in 1903, we ended up renting the land for the canal, $250,000 a year for 99 years. If you do the math on that, that's about $10 million freaking dollars. $10 million. And we paid for a zone that was about 6 miles wide.
So in 1906, President Roosevelt decided to come down and visit the Panama Canal to see how things were coming along. Turns out this doctor, whose name is, William George, came down, and he had diagnosed the problem that everybody had malaria and yellow fever, and that it was probably coming from the mosquitoes that were making everybody drop like flies.
What do you think of that tree over there?
It looks too early for leaves to be red. It's still kind of summer, right?
It looks like one of those Panama trees, doesn't it?
Yeah, because
Roosevelt's head engineer on this project, John Stevens, like Caleb mentioned, he was working with the lock system, and they realized with a steam shovel, I mean, they were able to dig very fast, but the railroad system could not keep up with all the spoils they were producing. So John Stevens was like, hey, we need to fix this. And so they paused digging for a little while, fixed the railroad system, and kept going. Eventually, John Stevens quit. He said it was a lost cause. He thought it was going to fail and too difficult, too much work, too much death. But, I mean, they just kept trucking. Roosevelt kept on with his original plan for the lock system until they finished it, and the first ship sailed through in 1914.
Go.
Basically, the United States was able to imperialize Panama through the Panama Canal. We stepped in, we took it, we broke the treaty, we built it, and it was a win for us.